Hey, Greg.
I'm Greg Hughes. I work at Vans, and this is
Rian Johnson. I also work at Vans in the engineering department, and we let this guy sit in the engineering department. So it's great.
Yeah, but I don't deserve it, but I sit there. So,
Oh, I
so
don't
hey,
say that.
look,
Anyway, yeah.
So what I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to talk and let everybody know. We've kind of been teasing a little bit what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I thought this is, especially this evening, is just a great opportunity. Well, why don't you just talk about what's going on here?
We're restoring the RV-5. It's a project I started,
Eons ago.
eons ago. I was here as an intern, and that was 1998.
Yeah.
At that time, I was crawling up in the rafters because I saw this airplane sitting up there.
Yeah.
Van had sent me up in the rafters for something else. I forget
There's
what that was.
there's a lot of cool
And
stuff in the rafters.
there is.
Even
He saves
now.
everything.
Even
yeah.
now, yeah.
So I was up there and I saw this airplane sitting there, and I tested the ropes that was hanging up there, strong enough to hold me in the airplane. So I climbed in the fuselage, and
Oh, you did that in the ropes?
yeah, up in the
Oh,
rafters.
I didn't know that part.
So Van comes walking out underneath, and he sees me up there, and he starts talking about the airplane.
Right.
Anyway, he said, you haven't built an airplane. At that time, I built one now, but of course didn't have an airplane. And he
Right.
said, you can just have the airplane until such time as I might want it back for museum use or something
Right.
else.
Sure.
And being a naive kid,
A naive young child.
yes, jumped on the opportunity and I started restoring it. And pretty soon I realized, what the airplane was and what
Right.
an RV-7 was, which wasn't invented yet, but we came up with.
Right.
And I put all my effort and finished my RV-7A. So it started out there. I started restoring the airplane, and it just went really slow over the years. There's been some setbacks. Maybe we can go into those at another time.
Maybe not now.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
There's several great stories
Well, yeah,
there.
that's true. Yeah.
Anyway, eventually last winter I moved the airplane over here to Vans, from Vans hangar, a personal hangar, over here to Van has a hangar here at the airport. Stripped the airplane of paint, and that was really revealing. We found corrosion and things that
Right.
needed to be fixed.
Well,
and
it's been 40 plus years.
the airplane's as old as I am. I was
Yeah.
born in '76, November, and this airplane flew in this summer. I think it was July of '76, and it had its first flight. So we're the same age.
Well, so in a minute here, we'll go take a look.
Yeah.
And so one of the cool things about this is that when the airplane was originally designed, there was a whole community of people that actually built it. It wasn't built at Vans Aircraft.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the time, it was the Carter administration. There was gas shortages. Van
Right.
thought,
The fuel crisis. Yeah.
experiment with this type of a design to make fuel usage, lower fuel usage,
Right.
and that was a concern. So he came out with this design. It was back of the napkin. In fact, even the large paper that he used was the back of other large pieces of paper that he had lying around. It was just scratched.
And we'll probably.
And,
I think we should bring that with us to
we will,
Oshkosh so that
yeah.
we can show it to some people.
Show the plans, yeah.
be kinda neat.
So 105 had a big hand in volunteering at that time, and it turns
And
out that
EAA,
tonight,
EAA Chapter 105,
Chapter 105,
right, which
yeah.
is the local chapter here in the Portland area.
right, and they're here tonight.
Yeah.
This many years, 42 years later,
Yeah.
and they're helping restore the airplane. We're cleaning it, getting it ready for paint. We've fixed all the squawks for the most part, and now we're just in the final stages of prepping for paint.
And it's a cool.
exciting.
It's a cool
It is.
airplane. It's an unusual looking airplane.
Right, but as a designer, you have to understand it as a designer, and it looks a lot. Everything has a purpose. You understand
Right.
why the nose was that shape, why the airfoil was a flat bottom 4000 series airfoil. That all the details just come into play.
So what people may not realize is you were an intern way back in the day.
I was, yeah,
But
98.
now Ryan's the chief engineer at Vans. So and he's been here the whole time and done some really amazing things. So
When you don't have to work, and you come to work every day, and to play at something new, why would you leave?
that's why I changed careers and I'm here now. So I understand completely what you mean. So I think we're
Yeah.
going to go take a look and see.
Yeah,
what's
let's
going
go
on back here.
visit the people here. Some of them are the same people. So here we're coming into the area, our paint booth here at Vans, where we're prepping the airplane. I had the vertical stab at my hands. This is all made from 016 skin, very thin, And it's amazing how lightweight this is. I mean, carbon fiber, you picked up carbon fiber parts, you're amazed.
Yep.
This whole airplane weighs 315 pounds.
Which is, if you think about it, is
the entire airplane.
Ridiculously light.
So
that
it'll lift.
including the engine.
If you count a person and
everything.
fuel, it will basically lift its own weight, and that's pretty amazing. But really lightweight airplane. You have to be careful with the 016 skin. The airplane had flaperons, so that's what we see right here. Taking the flaperons off the airplane.
So for people who don't know what a flaperon is, it's effectively
of an aileron and a flaperon.
It's a full span aileron that also acts as a flap, right? Basically.
In this airplane, the wing, you could pull one pin in the front, plus pull a hinge pin. It was a short 5-inch hinge segment. And the whole airplane wing would swivel about one bolt that held the rear spar. So the mechanism, which actuated aileron control, flaperon control, and allowed the wing to swing, it's an amazing mechanism. I mean, that's a little bit of genius from Van. He loves mechanical things, and he did a great job on that part of the airplane.
Yeah, but this is an airplane that was purpose-built to do and to evaluate, if you will, some very specific things.
Right, yes. Lightweight airplane design, inexpensive airplane design, an airplane design that didn't need a lot of fuel, low horsepower, and again, meet that demand in the 1970s that we didn't know what the market was going to be, or Van didn't at the time. Right. So we have the flaperons here. Over on the side, we have the wing. This is if we look at the end of the wing, we can go down and look at that. You'll notice this is a 4000 series airfoil, 4412. It's about 12% thick. I forget, 4411, somewhere in there. Flat bottom because it had to swivel on top of the flat fuselage. So if you look over there at the fuselage for a second, we'll see that the fuselage top is also flat. Now that airfoil unfortunately has about 10 times the pitching moment of our 23,000 series, and consequently that drove the tail design. So there's a lot of features that drive each other in this airplane. The airplane started out with a half Volkswagen engine, ended up with the Rotax 447, and that's the final cowling you see here. It would hold that Rotax 447. We take a trip over here, we can visit Tony. Tony's working on the Canopy. This is rather interesting. So, Tony Kirk from our prototype shop here. He's just finishing masking off this canopy. This canopy was the canopy off the RV-2. The airplane originally had a squarish canopy. It had slab sides and then one piece that wrapped around the top.
The RV-5 did.
The RV-5 did, right. Yeah. And it was ugly. And Van remembered that he had this canopy from the RV-2, which was never flown. It was a glider, a tailless glider, quite an advanced design, pretty aggressive for its time. Had this laying up in the barn at his parents' place. And so he went back to the barn, the canopy was laying there, and he fit the canopy onto the RV-5. So we have a little bit of RV history. The RV-2 did fly, at least the canopy flew. And we're restoring that. This was hand done, and back in the day it was so rough. This canopy is going to be much better now than it was when it flew before. So kind of a mix of epoxy and polyester, but it's looking good. Tony's doing a great job.
And this restoration isn't just for looks. I mean, the intent is for this airplane to fly again.
Correct. The airplane at 315 pounds, it has such a low moment of inertia. All the fuel tank is behind your head. The fuel's at the center of the airplane. It's so lightweight that just the feel of the airplane, amazing lightweight feel. There's no mass to resist or get start and stop, like a flywheel effect. The inertia of the airplane is very low. Very fun airplane to fly.
I've heard you describe it as being similar to sitting on the head of a pin.
Yes, if you've ever flown a Robinson R-22, it reminds me a lot of that. And if you appreciate that, I mean, if you're used to it, it's a amazing feeling. Here we're prepping the wing. We have Rian Johnson, Van's brother, and 105 members behind as well.
Alex and Tom,
just like back in the day when the airplane was designed. see here these are tracks for the canopy to slide back on. It is a sliding canopy, but it tips up as well. So for all the RV people that can't agree on whether you want to tip up or slider, this is both. So we finally solved that problem.
And no, you can't have one.
Yeah, no, you're not going to produce this airplane.
Yeah. It's a tipper. Is it a tipper slider or a slider tipper?
Well, it's both. You just want to create an argument still, don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, of course, a one-piece wing. Your head actually comes against the tank, which sits above in this area, and the wing comes out at shoulder height. So it's a mid-wing. It's neither low wing nor high wing. So we kind of struck a compromise there too. For those that like high wing, those that like low wing, those that want vans to do a high wing. Well, this is as close as you're probably going to get.
Halfway there.
Halfway there. We're halfway there. We haven't quite solved that problem for you. In any case, they're doing a good job. Already done the bottom side of the wing and moved on to the top. That's a lot of hard work, and they're doing a great job.
Hey,
Hello.
what are you doing?
Getting the pink off a sort of like scuffing the metal
Off what?
off of the wing of the airplane.
What airplane?
RV-5. The Brand's aircraft airplane.
There you go.
Protect all this plastic. Hey,
What are you doing?
getting ready to sand some RV-5 canopy.
Some what?
Some RV-5 canopy.
Some what?
Some top secret.
Oh, you can say that. That's okay.
Top secret RV project. Keeping it under wraps.
Wow.
I heard the story. Dave Carr built a half VW engine for it. And,
How do you build a half VW engine?
well, there's a couple different ways you can do it, with a full case or a half case, but there's a fair number of them flying, but they're 2 cylinders, and I guess it was a pretty anemic little engine. And later on, Van put the 447 Rotax in it, and it flew quite a bit better from what I understand. I never actually saw the airplane fly. By the time I came to work for Vans, it was apart in the hangar. The wing was up in the rafters, and the fuselage was just something you rolled around to get it out of the way. But I came out here one day when there was nobody else around and spent 15 minutes trying to get in it. I could not get in it. I don't know how Van ever got in it. But I've seen some old home movies of it doing some pretty snappy maneuvers. But I guess Jerry's son flew it more than anybody. Mark doing these days? Is still time for elastic?
Yeah. No, this is kind of cool getting to see this thing and touch it and everything. 2 of my 3 kids flew it, and the 2 that flew it, of course, they ended up being airline pilots. One of whom is one of these kids that flew it's now a retired airline pilot. So that kind of dates it a little bit. Both of them flew it. Anyway, just building time and playing around, having a good time. Well, it actually goes back into the 80s is when it was. But that was with the Rotex engine in it. Ken, speaking about the car engine, it was a bit anemic. I mean, it didn't have that much power, but it was also, it just shook like crazy. That 2-cylinder arrangement.
It wasn't a good balance.
It wasn't a good balance. Well, when it's going pop, 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 like that, darn thing wanted to follow it or something. I don't know what it was, but it shook.
How much line did they do behind that engine before they pulled the plug?
Actually, they flew it quite a bit. There was one young man that out there that flew it a lot, just a friend of Dick's. I couldn't say how much, but it was quite a bit. But anyway, the airplane is back, and that's kind of cool. I remember with the Rotex, I'd watched the clock real close, and you got past 9 hours since spark plug change. It was time to get the wrenches out, because at 10 hours it was going to start missing. Really, that was kind of crazy, but something about it. At 447, at about 10 hours, it was spark plug time one way or another. Everybody just kind of accepted it. I don't know why. There was, I'm sure, an explanation for it. But the airplane flew pretty good. Really nice visibility. Holy smoke, you know, I mean, that darn spinner couldn't have been that far in front of you. You could really see out of it. I just looked in there and I can't believe that I could get in that thing, but I used to. I guess my knees were right up against my chin, I don't know. But it was a snappy airplane. Those full span ailerons, flaperons, whatever. It was very much a lively machine. What was the deal? Trim tabs? No trim tabs, was there? Nope. I don't hardly remember that, but there's no tabs on there. I guess we just, I don't remember how we trimmed it. How did we do that? Maybe a little bungee cord or something when we wanted to cruise. Most of the flying we didn't do much cruising. Around the airport, that was about it. It was a fun thing. RV-5 story. Fast forward to 1984, I think it was. Dick had pretty much taken over sole ownership, responsibility for the airplane, whatever. The car engine wasn't working out, so they decided to try this Rotex. 447, whatever. He'd flown it some, but he didn't have much time trying to run the RV business. So he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I was in Seattle area, Evergreen Sky Ranch. My RV-4 second prototype had just flown, and it was something we were having a lot of fun with. Anyway, he says, hey, why don't you take this thing, this RV-5, take it up to your place, airstrip, air park. He said, between you and your two kids, just go fly it. We need to put some time on that engine. Of course. So I went down to Oregon, got the airplane, lots of oil, mixed with the fuel, and off I went for about a 110-mile trip up to where I lived. And the thing flew pretty good. I think it was the first time I'd ever flown it, probably, maybe the second. Off we went. Anyway, en route, just short of my house, my strip, there's another air park strip with a whole bunch of guys that flying everything they get their hands on, Stearmans and Palenkas and this and that and whatever else. And my good friend that was literally, this guy could fly anything. So, of course, I didn't tell him I was coming, right? And away, come from the south, straight in approach, and a recognition pass down the runway. And of course, just keep going. They all come running out, and they're all looking. I wasn't about to go and stop. I wanted to see what the results were. So my friend Dale, he probably had a pretty good inclination of what this was. It wasn't long, my phone rang and he said, Jerry, is that what I think it was? And I said, well, what do you think it was? Well, that's that RV-5 we heard about. I said, well, maybe. Next thing, they're all over there and they're looking at the thing, pawing over it. Dale, who flies everything and does well, he wants to fly it, but he's too big. I'll tell you what, you're just obviously 40 pounds overweight, so you gotta stand and watch. Anyway, that was kind of the story. Between myself and my 2 pilot kids, we flew it around for a while. What Van wanted was just putting some time on the engine, you know, see how it's gonna work.
Have you flown it yet?
It's hard to tell. It looks like this has washers inside there for the center pivot.
Okay. One spot at a time.
So what are you doing?
I wish I knew. I think I'm removing last vestiges of the previous paint, but we're not sure.
This is a bit of a mess.
I mean, how are we ever going to remask this if I actually clean off the old, see, that's right where the old paint lines were.
I'm sure you have a computer drawing of it.
RV-5 computer drawing?
Don't say that word.
Yeah, we can't make another one of these.
No.
No, we don't have a computer drawing.
Another what?
Computer drawing, definitely. No, we don't have a computer drawing. Another RV-5. We
What?
can't-
Shh. Don't say that word.
The RV-2 Canopy with a different fuselage connected to it. Is that what we're supposed to say?
Something like that.